let's jump into the corners. I think this is our third ranking position group. Very impressive corner class. I'm going to fire off my 10 through 6 once again. 10, I have Mr. TJ Tampa. 9, I have Jerian Jones. 8, I have Cam Hart. 7, I have Ennis Rakestraw. And 6, I have Mike, and I struggle with his name, Mike Standrish still. Corner out of Michigan, the slot corner.
I'm going to look him up now. I'm going to try to say his name. I saw a lot of Ennis being drafted by the 49ers when it all first started. So I think that kind of just shows you where Sanderstill. That seems about right.
Yeah.
The guy from Michigan.
Yeah. The slot corner from Michigan. Yeah.
How does Kamari Lassiter not break your top 10? Or did I miss? Oh, is he he's not in the top 5. There's no way he's in the top 5.
He's 11th.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That's boring. All right, so I'm gonna shoot out. I don't have a I think TJ Tampa might break the first round. I think he could with the Detroit Lions all of a sudden maybe needing a corner. Like I said, Ennis was mocked to the 49ers a bunch of times, so there's potential. Man, I honestly we're all over the first round, and I get it, but hell, the second and third round of this draft are going to be very, very exciting because there's some exciting players that are going to be sitting there. I think I'm the most excited I am for an offensive lineman is Christian Haynes, just to see how high that dude goes because he's a beast. But
absolutely,
at number 5, kill me. This might be somebody's number 1. Whatever, suck it. I got Nate Wiggins.
I also have number 5 as Nate Wiggins,
and the only reason is the dude I'm sure is uber talented, but. Yeah. He's a little small, and if you're gonna
say that again, dude, holy shit.
If you're gonna Nate Wiggins gonna guard CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's a big boy. Yeah. Is Nate Wiggins gonna come up and tackle Deebo Samuel? That's a big boy.
Yeah.
When you're running outside zone reads with some of these premier running backs, Nate Wiggins bringing down a healthy Nick Chubb on the boundary, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. That now again, he's in my top 5 of the best corners in the draft. So don't kill me for criticizing the guy. It's just that's the reason why he's at 5 instead of a little higher, like some players have. Yeah, or some people have put him.
And it's not just that, right? It's him, his weight. It puts him at 5, but also the guys in front of him are just that good. I think that's what it comes down to. Again, when we're talking about the third best position group in this class, we're still in the same conversation as the guys in front of some of the other guys. Doesn't mean that the guys behind them are bad. It just means these guys are really good. That's where we're at right now. Yeah, he's just small. I think he has good athleticism. He's lengthy and rangy. He has really fluid hips. That's what the first thing that popped out to me. He has really fluid hips, and he doesn't get beat off the line too often. He doesn't play a whole lot of press, obviously, because of how small he is. I very rarely see him just beat deep as well. His deep speed is really impressive. I think the one time I saw him get beat was Tez Walker. So that was really the one time I really noticed it, and it was just he had him covered up really well. It was just a really well placed ball by Drake May on the back shoulder, exactly where Nate couldn't get to it. So I think he's really good. He's really balanced in terms of playing man or zone coverage. He's just really light, and that's it. And these guys 4 through 1 are just really talented.
And you know what? The thing about it is these top 5 rankings, we just did tackles, right? And you and me, we can argue Amarius Mims and J.C. Latham all night. There might be 8 tackles. There might be top 8 tackles that'll be starting right tackle for the San Francisco 49ers who were just in the Super Bowl. Right. It's the same thing with the corners. There might be 10 guys, 12 guys that are starting corners in the NFL tomorrow. And we're trying to argue who the top 5 out of 12 starters is. So if you guys love Nate Wiggins, if you want him to be your number 1, that's cool. First of all, call us an idiot in the chat and like the video. That's all you got to do.
Who's your number 4?
I really hated that I did this because there's been times where I thought he was the number 1 corner in the draft. So, but just watching a little bit more and really kind of coming up on a certain individual. I got Kool-Aid at number 4. And it was tough, but I just think the guys I got in front of him are just, I'm starting to come around on a certain guy that I've been critical of, and the other two guys are just studs. So Kool-Aid comes in at number 4, not for any other reason except for the two guys in front of him are, like I said, absolute studs. And I think the upside of positional versatility on a third guy is more than what Kool-Aid can provide to a team.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I think I'm curious on how we have our three. I'm curious on how we have just. I think we're all over the place with the 4-3-2-1. My 4 is his teammate, Terrion Arnold. He was originally 3, and I made a promise to a certain somebody that if somebody ran a 4-2-2, or sorry, a 4-4-2, sorry, a 4-4-2, that I would place him a little higher. And son of a bitch, he ran a 4-4-2 and he was projected a 4-5. So I moved somebody up one spot. So Terrion Arnold is my number 4. I have a problem with him getting beat underneath. It felt a little bit too often. I was seeing it. He is really good on the boundary and he's really good on the outside. He's really good in zone. The only problem is he felt too comfortable kind of like turning around. Like he flips his hips immediately and turns around. His back pedal, he almost wants to turn immediately and start running with the guy. But that leaves him open for the digs, that leaves him open for the curls, that leaves him open for the drags, that leaves him open for a lot of stuff. And he did it often. And that was my main issue with him. He originally was he was originally my 3, and I had a lot of issues, but he's also a great athlete, really good recovery speed. That's why even though he might get beat on some of those turnarounds, he's going to turn back around. He's going to catch right back up to you, and he's a pretty decent tackler. I know not a lot of people give him credit for that. I think he's an okay tackler against wide receivers. He's not going to show up too much in the run game, mainly for the lack of not for the lack of ability, but for the lack of effort. He doesn't really want to, which most top corners don't want to tackle anyways. So I'm not gonna knock him too much. But he plays a lot of man coverage, just like my number 1 corner. But again, that turning around, getting beat underneath, I saw it happen a little bit too much. So he's my 4.
Yeah, and I've seen that on him. The thing about that is I'm going to keep going. I'm going to say this probably another 10 more times on this podcast is just coaching. I think there's some really great secondary coaches in the NFL, and they're going to coach that out of them. They're going to coach the technique. And what's going to happen is if I want Arnold, who I guess I should say this, I put him at number 3 in front of Kool-Aid. I want him to stop using his athleticism to close the gap on when he makes mistakes. I want his athleticism to intercept the football. I want his athleticism to turn into pass breakups. Some secondary coach out there is going to take Arnold. They're going to fix the footwork and they're going to fix his, I don't want to say lazy. It's just sloppy maybe because he knows he can make it up with athleticism. They're going to close that gap, and his athleticism is really going to put him into the position for pass breakups and interceptions. And if he can get his footwork to the next level, then he's going to be one of these corners that people just don't throw at because even if he's a step behind, he can make it up with athleticism. And that's why I have him at 3. One of the things that with Kool-Aid is that I think he's I think he's very handsy down the field. Like I think that I know I've seen a lot where people talk about he may get a lot of defensive pass interferences and he may get a lot of holding calls and things like that. And, there's a corner for the 49ers right now that the book against him is just throw it deep on him because you're going to get a PI. Like if you get him one-on-one, just run that man deep and throw it up there because he's going to put his hands on him and get the penalty. And those defensive pass interference penalties down the field are absolutely devastating in the NFL. So I just think coaching up Arnold with the footwork is going to allow him to be a little more successful. But again, we're talking about the top 5 corners. So
you said that's your 3, right?
Yeah, Terrion Arnold is my 3. So your 3 is
Cooper DeJean.
Ooh.
So Cooper's my 3. Cooper's a really good athlete. Great size, the best tackling corner in the draft, right? He's probably a slot, maybe a safety. He can play outside if he needs to. Problem is he doesn't play a whole lot of press coverage on the outside. 199 snaps played on the outside, so 25% over the past 2 years. He is a great athlete, but his change of direction and agility is just not fantastic because of his size. He's stiff in the hips a little bit, but he's quick and he can make it up. And when that pass, it's almost like he's allowing that pass to happen. So he knows he could tackle the guy in front of him. He knows he's just a little bit beat, but he knows as soon as the guy tries to turn up the field, he can get to him and tackle him right before the first down, or, and that can work. But the problem is there's a lot of really fucking athletic guys in the NFL. A lot of really quick guys and a lot of guys who can break those tackles. You're not going to let Debo catch the fucking ball and then you're going to try to bring him down, because I don't care how good of a tackler you are. There's not a whole lot of corners in this league that are going to bring down Debo one-on-one in the open field. It's going to be a problem. But outside of that, good size, stout in the run defense, and his footwork is pretty decent. I do like his footwork and his IQ and his communication with his teammates, because he does play a lot of the slot role. Almost sometimes plays like a linebacker, role. Sometimes in dime, he plays a linebacker role. So he does have a lot of communication IQ with his teammates, and you see him shouting stuff out, and you see him pointing in kind of direction. He's almost playing Mike, right? He's playing Mike almost as a slot corner, and he's telling guys to move around, telling guys what's going to happen. So he's really smart. Again, it's that not sure how successful he's going to be on the outside, and his flipping his hips is a little bit slow, in my opinion. Your number 2. We probably have the same one. Wait. Oh shit! Wait, who we have 2?
Well, I mean, unless you're putting Kool-Aid at 1, are you putting Kool-Aid at 1?
I might.
Oh man. I put Mitchell at number 2.
I have Mitchell at number 2.
Okay.
I do. The Mitchell was my 1. He was, I think, the second corner I watched, and I left him at 1 for a while until I watched Kool-Aid, and I like and I know this isn't a great way to go about it, but I like his floor. I think he's not a ball hawking corner, but he's really intelligent. He's really good on screens. He's really good at tackling. I think his, yes, the holding and the defensive pass interference stuff is probably going to be an issue on the next level. And his change of direction ability is good. It's just not elite, right? But everything else, I think he has great length. I think he's really intelligent in zone. He's really intelligent in press. His recovery speed is good enough to make up. So I think Arnold and Kool-Aid play very similarly. I just think Kool-Aid has a little bit more tape on him to be like,
sugar.
it's a little bit more on Kool-Aid in terms of his tape, to say, he makes it up a lot more. He's a little bit more intelligent with his hips, and when he turns, and he doesn't get beat a whole lot. Those screen passes, again, he's really smart with. So I like Kool-Aid as my 1. Quinyon as my 2, though. I want you to go ahead and take this, because I feel like this guy came out of nowhere and flew up the boards. And you look at the tape and you see exactly, as soon as the minute you see him step on the field, you're like, God damn, bro, that's an NFL corner right there. And you watch him play, and you're almost jaw dropped for a lot of the time. But go ahead.
I mean, I just really like Quinyon. I had to look at a lot of different draft profiles just to find multiple draft profiles that would even have the same con listed. Not because he has a whole bunch of cons, but I think that people are just you got to put something on the con line, right? You can't just say he's perfect. And the one that consistent that I found a couple times is he likes to get bit on double moves by the wide receiver. But frankly, I just think that's a product of, at the college level, quarterbacks will start following the cornerbacks with their eyes. And it's really, not biting on the double move. I know that people have said with Quinyon that he gets lost in zone coverage a little bit. So losing your man in zone coverage and getting bit on double moves definitely seems like the root basis of the same issue, which, 2 things. It either gets coached up and it becomes not a problem, and now he's an all elite corner, or it gets exposed and he's absolutely can't be on the field. Now, based off of what I see, everything else in his game, they're going to coach it up. It was really hard for me to do these rankings because I've been outspoken about Cooper DeJean not having a position. And instead of me deciding that inside corner, outside corner, or safety, you know what? He's not as valuable to me because we don't know where we're going to play him. I've decided that he is my number 1 corner because he can play everywhere, and he can play everywhere really, really well. I think that you're talking about a guy that's going to have a really long career in the NFL because When he starts to struggle at corner, you can move him to safety.
Yeah.
He can come down in the box. He can play inside corner. And frankly, I just think that he's going to be undervalued and he's going to surprise a lot of people. And I don't want to make it into a skin color thing or anything, but I just think that when we think about the best athletes in the NFL, we go to the best athletes in the world, realistically. I just think that he's going to play corner extremely well. And there's going to be a defensive coordinator that's smart enough. You know, we hear positionless basketball all the time. We hear, LeBron James is a point guard and a center and a power forward. All that. I think you could really do the same thing with Cooper. It reminds me a lot of some of these players that were too early for their time, like a Taylor Mays back in the day. The 49ers drafted him. He didn't have a position. I think you could just take Cooper Eugene. I think you could put him all over the field and he could be successful anywhere that he wants to be.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't want to see for him is I don't want to see him position jumping. I want him to, if you're going to come into a game plan, and I hope that they can leave him there outside, without changing something due to injury. The 49ers, Jimmy Ward, safety, corner, slot corner. His entire career with the 49ers, we kept moving that dude all over the place, and he could never really settle in. And when he finally did, he turned out to be a really excellent safety because we finally put him in a position to succeed. On the flip side to that, I think that the Dallas Cowboys have taken a lot of the value away from Micah Parsons by making him a player with his hand in the dirt 100% of the time. And I know Micah wants it because sacks are what gets you paid, not coverage in the middle of the field. But a player like Cooper, where you can line him up. I mean, I just see him lined up in the slot and blitzing the corner, right? Coming up and run stopping and then kicking back out and guarding, a really, really good wide receiver. I just think there's so much that you can do with him. And instead of thinking he's only going to be good at everything or good at a couple things, I think he could be good at everything on the field. And to me, why would you not want a player like that? Why would you not want to take a piece that's dynamic and explosive like that and just give him the opportunity to play football?
Yeah. And I could see it again. We're talking about the third best position group. You can mix guys up 1 through 5, and there's going to be an argument for every single one of these guys. I think at 1, genuinely, and I know even with my 6 through 10, you had a funny look with Cam Hart. I know some people are going to have a funny look with Mike S from Michigan. Some guys are going to have a problem with him. Jerry and Jones, I know he's flying up boards a little bit too, but some guys are going to have issues with that. And then other guys like Kamari Lassiter are dropping out my top 10 for guys like Cam Hart. So I think this is a corner class you're going to find a lot of depth with. It's not just the superstars at the top, those top 5, 6, 7 guys. I think you're looking at guys are going to fit a role somewhere in the NFL and they're going to play extremely well. And
I didn't give you that look because of Cam Hart. I gave you that look because I thought you were going to say Max Melton. It was a lack of Max and not an addition of Cam.
Yeah, let's do I have Max Melton? I don't know if I actually watched Max.
Do you think that you can do like 3 or 4 minutes of why you love Cam Hart to give me a second to run off and play with my Traeger?
Sure, if you want to go run off. Damn, it's that time already?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. Go ahead. I can go
right back.
Fire off some stuff. So, just to put it in perspective, just looking at PFF itself, Cam Hart is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, to like 20th ranked corner. And I know it's going to be a surprise for a lot of people. And sometimes when it comes to some of these corners and some of the players in general, I have a time where I just watch a guy and I go, damn, he's just locking up his side of the field, His start and stop ability is okay, given his size, it's fine. He's 6'2", 207 pounds, so he's a bigger corner, right? The ideal size, some would say. So start and stop ability is okay. That's something that you can't really teach too much unless you're going to go ahead and you're doing it more off of instincts more than anything else. So I think that's something that he could improve on. Definitely. His acceleration isn't something that's just bam in your face. So he's probably going to need a single high safety to help him out a lot of the times over the top. His long speed is a concern, but again, when it comes to some of these faster guys in the NFL, you're going to have a corner, a safety over the top to help out with some of these speedy guys over the top. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. You have help with a lot of these guys. So are you going to stick him on an island? No, you're probably not going to. He's my 8th ranked corner, right? He's not my 1, 2, 3, 4. He's not gonna sit there, but he's super competitive. He has a good feel in spacing, and off coverage and zone, and he great in the run defense. He's great in screens, especially. He's good at recognizing them and really blowing through a block to try to make that tackle. He likes to make those low blocks a lot of times where you see corners kind of like dive down and kind of reach the arm out to trip out the running back or the tight end on a tight end screen. He does that a lot of the times. And again, he has the size to compete and to learn, and he has the length too. Especially affecting the catch point. He's really good there. So it's one of those things where I could see why people don't like him. I definitely can see it. But this is one of those things where I'm going to look at you and say, hey, stop what you're doing. Go watch Cam Hart. It's a guy that maybe a lot of guys have not watched. A lot of people are going to watch Max Melton, like he just mentioned. Max Melton is a guy who's flown up a bunch of boards. I haven't got around to him yet. But even Renardo Green, I haven't got around to quite yet. DJ James, I haven't got around to quite yet. Jarvis Brownlee Jr., but these are all guys ranked in the like top 150-ish range, and I really do top 100 to 200. Kind of depends on the year and what I'm doing. So I'm probably going to get to 150 so I can really do about 3 to 4 rounds is kind of my goal is where I want to be at. So I'll get around to some of those guys and maybe my rankings will change a little bit, but I'm pretty solidified on those guys. I feel really confident about 9 through 1. Jerrion Jones, I think, is really impressive. Slot corner. Again, Cam Hart, Ennis Rankstraw Jr., and then Mike Sanderstrill. Another guy who's I think is locked down in that slot corner position. He's not going to get drafted super high because he is just a slot. He's not an all-around player. And I did see Cooper DeJean is probably more of a slot guy in the NFL, but Mike is like primarily a slot. You're not going to see Mike on the outside. He very rarely played slot at Michigan, pulling up how often he played in the slot. Or excuse me, on the outside. So last year he played 151 snaps on the outside and then 403 snaps on the inside, 100 snaps in the box. So he's really not playing. He came off the line a little bit, the D line, do the run blitzing, but I think he's really impressive, especially in a zone scheme. We got Drew back. See, and then Drew just comes back and fucks it all up.
I don't even know what you said. Zone schemes. Impressive. Did I seem cloudy? Oh, there we go. Shout out. I'm back. Wow, high definition. What's up?